Imagine a world where governments build great products. I know, right? It's like a whole new world. But paying taxes will be easy. Healthcare services will make you feel cared for. Wouldn't we create a society that is effective, inclusive, and innovative? Good afternoon and welcome. My name is Zul, and I flew all the way from Singapore, and it's so surreal to be in front of you today. Thank you. I spent the first 10 years of my career in various tech companies, from tech startups all the way to big tech. But 2 years ago, I made the leap to government. I joined an organization called Open Government Products, or OGP for short. And OGP is basically an experimental unit within the Singapore government, and we basically function like a startup. And our mission is simple. Governments are known for building terrible products, but we want to change that. And we're going to do it in 3 simple steps. First, experiment with new practices, demonstrate that it works, and then propagate it to the rest of our government and hopefully to the governments around the world. I think we've done a pretty decent job on the first 2 steps, and here are some notable products that we have built. The COVID crisis was very scary. In Singapore, citizens were eager to get vaccinated, but there wasn't an easy way to do so. So we built an appointment app within 2 weeks, and we got 96% of all eligible population vaccinated. In Singapore, we also used to pay for roadside parking using paper coupons. Every half an hour is 1 coupon. So can you imagine if you want to park for the entire day, your whole entire car dashboard is just filled with coupons. It's terrible. So we got rid of it. We built a parking app, and today if you visit Singapore, and if you want to pay for roadside parking anywhere in Singapore, you'll be using our app. And the best part is if you come back to your parking earlier, we'll refund you the difference. So many people will say that, hey, startups, they probably can't do enterprise-level systems. But we did it. We built an enterprise patient management system that is being used by every single public hospitals in Singapore. And it took us 1 year with a team of less than 10 people, and we saved $85 million by building it ourselves. So those 3 products are just a fraction of 30 great products that we have delivered over the past 5 years. So today, I want to give you a behind-the-scenes look at how we did it and the model that made it possible. And by the end of it, I hope to inspire you and make you feel hopeful about the future products coming out of your government. All right, let me bring you through one of our products that we built. This is the health appointment system. But how we started was 2 years ago, a government agency, the Health Promotion Board, approached us for help. You see, we did quite a good job with COVID, but for other highly recommended vaccines, we were terrible. Only 12% of all seniors in Singapore are vaccinated against pneumococcal vaccine, which basically protects you against bacteria that may lead to pneumonia. Pneumonia is the 2nd highest leading cause of death in Singapore. Less than 20% of women in Singapore have taken the HPV vaccine, which protects you against certain viruses that may lead to several cancers. If we compare this to higher income countries around the world, Singapore is ranked last. So when we did our user research, we found out that the main barrier is basically how inconvenient it was to get vaccinated. We do a lot of government campaigns, such as this one, and we encourage citizens to go to their nearest clinics. But when they go to the nearest clinic, the vaccine is out of stock. And even if they manage to find a clinic where there is stock, they have to endure a long waiting time. So we knew we had to change it. We have to fix it. So what we did was Kenneth here, our product manager, during one of the weekly all-hands sessions, pitched to the entire company the problems, the opportunity, and basically ended the pitch by saying, hey, we are going to save some lives. Who's with me? So 4 people volunteered. At that point in time, we were like less than 100 people, so 4 is quite good. And these volunteers, right, they are spending their time outside of work to work on this. So it's a bit different. So we have one designer who's with us in the crowd today, and we have 3 other engineers. And over the next few months, we built a clinic app for clinics to display their availability. We built a patient app for members of public to book appointments. And within 4 months, we launched. And I use the word we because at this point is the point where I joined OJP, and this was the very first product that I worked on. So everything went well, and we reached the moon, right? Well, I wish it was that smooth. But here's what happened. We sent hundreds of thousands of physical mails to seniors because those are the target group that we were aiming for. And we were very optimistic about it. We set a target of 50,000 appointments by the end of the year. It was 5 months away till the end of the year. So every single month, we are expecting about 10,000. By the end of the first month, 50. Yeah, so you can imagine the whole morale of the team, right? Oh my God, what went wrong? So we did what any other tech startups would have done. We talked to our users. We used Datadog to look at all the replays. We dove deep into our conversion funnel. And here's what we learned. Our assumptions were wrong. We assumed that the seniors preferred physical mail as a form of marketing medium, but realized that a physical mail often gets lost with other junk mails, and it doesn't look official enough. And even if the seniors open up the mail, there's a QR code and there's a URL. At that point in time, we didn't think too much about it, but can you imagine seniors and like taking the camera, trying to scan the QR code or like typing the URL? Yeah, it was terrible. So we conducted numerous experiments, and the very first one was, okay, physical mail sucks. So what will be a better medium? And we found out that SMSs or text messages were super effective, so we doubled down on it. We then doubled down on trying to figure out, like, does the content matter? Does the tone of voice matter? And here's an example of an experiment we ran. There's 3 different types of tone of voice. We have nice, scary, and concise. Okay, let's do a quick poll. Who think the nice will have the highest conversion? No, okay. Who thinks the scary have the highest conversion? Wow. And then who thinks the concise? Okay, I think it's quite a mix between scary and concise. So our team thought scary would be the way to go. Like if you scare a senior into taking a vaccination, right? That will work. But guess what? The nice version won. Which is like super surprising, right? And the nice version won by a whopping 15%. It has 15% more conversion than the scary. So our experiment we were crazy. It was like, wow, this is crazy. So we decided to run another experiment. Does the day of the week matter? And does the time of the week where you send the SMS matter? And we learned that actually, yes, if you send an SMS before 10 a.m., it has 20% on average more conversion than after 10 a.m. And if you send between Monday and Wednesday, marginally better, 3 to 5%. So just to recap, in April, Kenneth, the PM, made the pitch. 2 months later, we launched the clinic app. 2 months after, we launched the patient app. And we did the whole build, measure, learn cycle and ran a series of experiments. And we managed to increase the top of funnel conversion by a whopping 7x, from 3.5% all the way to 27%. Today, 2 years later, the health appointment system has evolved significantly. We have facilitated over 350,000 appointments, and we are aiming for 500,000 by the end of the year. We started with pneumococcal vaccine, and we move on to the next vaccine and the next vaccine, and today we have 19 over services. So you can book your health screening, you can book your doctor visits. Our NPS is world-class. We were so effective that some clinics had to rush to restore their vaccine supplies, and they had to tell us to slow down. So at this point, I think many of you might be thinking, how is this different from what many tech startups are doing? And the short answer is that it's not. It's very, very similar to what many of you are doing today. But what's different about it is that it's being done in government. Governments are known to be slow and full of red tapes, but we managed to navigate through the bureaucracy. We managed to deliver the health appointment system and 30 plus other products. So let me share with you a model that worked well for us. At the root of everything is creating a culture within the government where citizens should always be first. Unfortunately, in many governments today, the government employees get distracted in trying to please their bosses, please politicians, or please lobby groups. That has to change. And to change that, we need to create a culture within the government where citizens should always be first. You should always be on the ground talking to citizens. And if you're constantly engaging citizens, you'll start realizing that there are so many problems to solve. And because there are so many problems to solve, what OGP do is that for the entire month of January, we stop all critical work and we spend one whole month doing a hackathon. That's right, the entire month of January, and we have been doing it every year for the past 5 years. And here are some interesting projects that came out of this year's hackathon. Singapore is a multicultural country. English is the primary language, but not everyone can read it, especially the seniors. So for the seniors, when they receive a physical mail that is in English, what they do is they just put it aside and they leave it piled up until a trusted person come in and help them to read it. So we have heard cases where they leave the letters piled up for so long that they miss paying for their bills. So one of the hackathon teams, what they did was they built a web app. So now all the seniors have to do is take a photo of the letter, and we will use a large language model to synthesize it, simplify it, and translate it to a language that is more suitable for the seniors. And now, the seniors don't have to leave it piled up, they can do it themselves. Another problem that was tackled is that the less fortunate often have something very specific they need. So in this case, we learn about the story of a young man who has 7 school-going siblings, and he wanted to help his family. And his request is very simple. He just wanted an oven and a few baking materials. So what another hackathon team did was build a platform where a registered social worker can put up such requests and donors can fund such causes directly. The last one is not so much of a problem, but sometimes we work on fun stuff as well. So today we are at Moss Kearney Center and we are located at Howard Street. Who is Howard? Yeah, none of us, right? So this hackathon team wanted to make learning about history and heritage more fun through its street names. And just in case you're wondering who's Howard, Howard is a prominent merchant that was very influential in the development of this city. Yeah. So again, those 3 projects are just a fraction of the many products that come off hackathon. In fact, typically at the end of each hackathon, we have about 30 to 40 working products, and 4 to 5 of them will have so much traction and so much potential that we will continue resourcing it. And this is super important because in a domain, in an environment where there are so many problems to solve, it's so important that we focus on the right ones and the impactful ones. If we look at OGP products, 70% of them started from hackathons. And creating a culture of citizens first also means making difficult design decisions and being very opinionated. So for example, going back to the health appointment system, when we talk to the users, we learn that they care a lot about costs. They want to know how much they are paying when they go to the clinic and what subsidies are they eligible for. But when we spoke to the clinics, they are like, no, I don't want to display my costs up front, which makes sense because they don't want other clinics to undercut them. So who do we prioritize? The happiness of our supply, the clinics, or doing what's best for the citizens? We do what's best for the citizens. We display the cost up front, and we even double down. We featured clinics who offered extra subsidies, so now patients, citizens, can make an informed choice. So I talk about citizen first. Next is giving autonomy. What we've done at OGP is that we have created small teams of skilled practitioners, and they have direct accountability, ownership of the problems. Our team size for each product is typically 4 to 10 people. Everything is done in-house, nothing gets outsourced. It's a balanced team, very typical roles. You have a product manager, designer, a few engineers, and we have a product ops. Each team runs fully independently. They decide what problem to tackle, what tools to use. No one tells them what to do. So in our earlier example of the health appointment system, the team works directly with government agencies without any layers in between. And because the team size is so small, every single member of the team is accountable and responsible for the success or failure of the product. So it's very common to see engineers and PMs leading user interviews on the ground. It's also unsurprising to see designers going into the code base, making a few changes and pushing out PRs. We do whatever it takes to make the product successful. But what's unique about our setup is that we have this role called the policy officer that is embedded directly into the team. Our policy officer has many years of government experience. They have built deep domain expertise, and they have built numerous connections across various ministries. When the team is stuck with bureaucracy, the policy officers are the one to unblock it. And sometimes that means rewriting certain policy papers. Let me give you a specific examples. When we were working on the enterprise patient management system, we realized that every time a patient visits a hospital and they require financial assistance, they have to fill so many forms and provide so many documents. But if they visit another public hospital, they have to repeat the whole administrative process over and over again. It's such a terrible patient experience. So what the policy officer did was work directly with relevant authorities and make universal consent the default. What it means is that if a patient has shared their information before with a single public hospital, with the consent of the patient, that information can be shared with other public hospitals. So now, the patient can focus on recovery instead of paperwork. And this is a great example of how a product team leverages a policy officer that is embedded within the team to remove the boundaries. I think the problem that we have in a lot of governments today is that governments have this challenge of legacy policies and they have to work around it. But by having a policy officer directly embedded into the team, you can remove those legacy policies, you can rewrite them, you can remove the boundaries. So we talk about citizen first, we talk about giving autonomy. Last but not least is our obsession over impact. For every product that we work on, we have a report card. It displays all the key metrics and what each team have delivered quarter to quarter. We even display our costs, and we are radically transparent about it. So if you go to our website, products.open.gov.sg, you will see every single product that we have, everything that we have delivered, every cost, your infrastructure costs, your staff costs, everything. But what this does, it helps keep teams accountable and keeps them focused on what's truly important. This report card is also being used as part of a performance review to measure the level of impact each team has delivered. And impact doesn't just have to be from product metrics. We also look at impact outside of it. So for example, we realized very quickly that within government, a lot of government employees don't really know what good product looks like, but more importantly, how much it should cost. So let me ask, how much should a static website cost? I heard free, yeah. So it's uncommon for a government agency to be paying $20,000 every single year. And I say every single year because once they build it, just to maintain the static website, it still costs $20,000 a year. And it's ridiculous. It's just a web page with a few hard-coded content. So what we are continuously doing is we are running these boot camps for non-technical government officers. And basically, we make them do coding, design, and deploy a web app. For one of the boot camps that we have done, at the start of the boot camp, only a quarter of them have some sort of technical literacy. By the end of it, it's quite a majority. And this is super important because now, when vendors give outrageous proposals, they can now confidently say that this doesn't make sense, this sucks. Yeah. And this is also why our report card, we are radically transparent so that we can be used as a benchmark. They can now say that, hey, you only cost OGP this much amount. Why does your proposal cost 10x or 20x more? So let me give a quick look back. When OGP was, in 2020, OGP only had 40 people. Today, we are at 190, and we have our fair share of growth pains. By creating a citizens-first culture, by giving autonomy, and by being obsessed with delivering impact, we have managed to deliver 30 great products over 5 years with a team of less than 200 people. And speaking of impact, when I first started my career, I designed this sticker feature which make people pay money just for the stickers to appear for a few seconds. But hey, I made so much money for my startup, and I thought, wow, I did impactful stuff. When I joined government, the very first product I worked on was the health appointment system. And for every user that I brought through the conversion funnel, I am potentially saving their life. That kind of impact hits very different. The first one was great. This was even greater. Today, when we look around the world, there are so many challenges, and it can feel quite overwhelming. But imagine if the brightest minds among us work on solving the most important problems. I invite all of you to join me in this mission to think about how your work impacts your family, impacts your community, and impacts the society. Let's build tech for public good. Thank you.